Well, it's 6 o'clock, everybody. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much and welcome. Good to see everybody here. Okay. We have, according to the agenda here, we have the approval of the agenda, and we do have one change that we're going to do. We are going to take item under 10D off of the agenda. Is there anything else that you may want to rearrange or anything like that? No?
No.
Do I hear approval of the agenda? Can you hear me, Ted?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Good.
Commissioner, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is, with the exception of 10D.
Yeah, with that change. I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so move now to public comment. If you would, please state your name and go ahead and stand at the podium.
I just have a
Ken?
question, Judy.
Sure.
Is there public comment at the end? The agenda I looked at, there wasn't.
There's not.
I don't think there is one, but you know, I don't mind putting, yeah.
No, it's good order. Anyway.
Okay.
If he wants to wait, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, we can do another one. It
Okay.
doesn't matter.
If there's nobody else want to do, we can.
Yeah, but there is public comment right now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I just wasn't certain because I thought you used to do public comment.
yeah, generally we have. I didn't catch that, so,
Well, I just
okay.
wanted to clarify. Thank you.
All right.
Ken Van Busker. I live in Belfair. On the agenda this evening, there's a new business item. I don't know if it's 10D or not, but it's regarding a strategic plan and a date for a strategic planning workshop. Is that 10D?
No, 10D was a resolution 12.
Okay, so this matter is on your agenda this
Yes.
evening under new business.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meeting materials, I saw an email exchange between Mr. Capola and a Vancouver firm that there was an estimate for $6,000 to facilitate that workshop. And I realize it's an estimate, but it seems pretty extreme. And I think it's something the port can and should do on its own. The executive director reports that he's cut expenses to the bone, but what do you folks think?
That's why we're going to discuss it.
Okay, thank you. As for the retreat, well, that was just my input so that you can consider it when you discuss. As for the retreat itself, I think the last one you folks had was advertised in Leavenworth a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I had planned to go to that, but realized I couldn't, it's too far away to go. And if you do schedule a retreat, please consider a more local venue where your constituents can attend. I think it's much more valuable and much more fiscally responsible. Also on the agenda this evening, the executive director reports that the Sweetwater property's been surveyed. The last time I was in there, I can't tell exactly where the line is. I did find a survey pin, and it appears that both myself and the arborist that the port paid for identified trees that are on the school district property. So I've been in touch with Superintendent Rosenbaugh and told her what I discovered and asked her to investigate. So please, when you get the survey, I'd encourage you to share it with the school district because I'm not sure that anybody knows where the actual boundary between the two is. The 5-acre parcel that the port owns there, it's assessed at $450,000. I'm sure it's partly due to the underlying multifamily zoning. And in my opinion, this is something that you should discuss at a strategic planning meeting, along with improving citizen involvement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeff?
Jeff Carey, welfare. Just a quick thing. I noticed on the minutes of the September 7th meeting, under public comment, I think we dropped a word which gives two different, one impression one way or another different impression another way. It's on the second line where it says, he has no problem. I said with a little public discussion, and the way it's worded is, have no problem with little public discussion. Like 180 degrees.
Okay.
Just like one letter, literally, could have been put, I'm sure, that, because that was the reason I brought it in that meeting to discuss to the board.
Okay.
It's more public.
So we probably need to change that then.
It would be nice.
Okay.
Okay.
All
We'll
right.
correct it.
That makes sense.
Because it's, I'm fine with, things are a little bit, one way or the other, but this is like 180 degree meaning difference.
Just one little word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
one last thing, no big deal, but since you got multiple Mr. Carey's in the list, if you can just put another initial in front, because someday, 20 years from now, somebody's read it and wonder what the hell's with this guy.
Right.
Seems to be three different, beings.
Okay.
So, appreciate it.
Yeah, good discernment on our part too.
Duly noted, yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Barry, did you have something?
I'll say for the good of the order.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, next is our consent agenda items. Approval of the regular meeting minutes for October 3rd. Is that the one, right, that needed the change?
No, September.
Yeah, that was September 7th. yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
All right,
Okay.
good, thank you. So October 3rd, and then the special meeting, which was the groundbreaking for October 19th, and then the special meeting minutes for October 24th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve, if there's no further discussion on any of the minutes, all three.
Yeah, we need a second to do that.
I know.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
And I'll second, yes, I'll second, but I'm getting horrible feedback.
Oh.
So, but I didn't hear Mr. Van Busker for Mr. Carey's speech.
Oh, okay.
I'll second, I did hear Commissioner Sheridan.
Okay.
Okay.
Was there any discussion on this?
No. No?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So moved. Okay, next is the action items. Would you like to read those, or shall I read them?
I'll read them.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. The action items, okay. So I'll make a motion to approve all four vouchers. The first one, $15,605. The second one, $23,690.36. The third one, $3,151.93. And the fourth voucher, $9,305.
And the use of the digital signature.
And the use of digital signatures, I always forget to do.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Can you hear us real good, Ted?
It's reverberating a little bit,
Okay.
but I can hear you, Commissioner.
We'll speak up a little bit more too.
Okay.
All right.
You're fine, but I apologize for not being there.
Yep, it's all right.
Okay, next is the commissioner's report. Who'd like to go first?
Sure, I'll kick it off. The 3rd of October, our Port of Allyn regular meeting that we had, I was there, and the 19th, we had of October, we had the groundbreaking up here, up the hill, and then the WPPA meeting that we had as commissioners on the 20th and 21st of October, and then I attended my regular Mason Transit Authority Board as an officer there on October 18th. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Ted?
It'll be quick, pretty much what Commissioner Sheridan said, that I attended, except that PRTPO, which maybe we need to have a little bit different discussion, and I think all the commissioners should be involved in this. Commissioner Scott, you've been through it a lot of years, a lot of stuff going on. And I don't know if, I think it would be better if all the commissioners were involved in it. So, instead of just appointing one person to sit on this board, I think it'd be better, especially what's going on with Allyn and Belfair and Gorst. It'd be better if all three of us sat on there. I don't know if, executive director has a different opinion, but there's a lot of grant opportunities that I would like to see us grab. So anyways, and now, and I do have to count this, is that after 8 years of living in a shoebox, the United Way is moving. So that's why I'm sitting in this office tonight, trying to get our stuff together. But it's been a lot of years down on Railroad, and now we're up on Johns Prairie. And thanks to Mason Transit. So, yeah.
Great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we approved some of that changes. I was on that. I said aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, sidebar.
I had,
Thank you.
the first time in 3 years, I had windows. So we're trying. So anyways, I want to thank you both for all the hard work, and I do truly apologize, and I'm not down there, but I got to pull my weight up here because my office staff was doing it for the last week. So.
All right.
Is that it, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
I attended the October 3rd meeting. I also, like I said, this isn't port related, but I think it's important to stay involved with Department of Natural Resource Focus Group was October 6th. Part of my district is in DNR land, the Tahuya Forest. So, and of course I kind of grew up there, ride my horses, all that stuff. So they're looking for grant letter supports or support letters for their grants. One is a maintenance and operation grant. Another one is a 4x4 grant and an E&E grant. They named another one which was a NOVA grant, but I think they changed the name on that. So I want to know if the board would be willing to give letters of support to DNR. We can talk about that later, but especially the maintenance operation, all of them. E&E is education and enforcement. As you well know, Ted, there's only one cop for thousands of acres, and it's grant related, so they need all the letters of support that they can. Also, DNR is working with the Salmon Center on our Sweetwater Park too, and they're helping. So that was really encouraging. So they're doing quite a bit. And then I also attended the EDC regular meeting, and I just want to give you an update. The legislative committee met with the Kilmer's office about grants available, and we may want to look at some of them. I think I sent links to Larry about some of these grants. One of the grant packages is infrastructure. Right. So that was really helpful and informative. And then, of course, the groundbreaking for our new well up on the hill. That was attended by Dan Griffey and Drew McEwen and Cedarlands and for staff. That was great. Yay, thank you, Jeff, and all that for support. And then, of course, the WPPA Small Ports Conference, which is Washington Public Ports Association. I learned, speaking of Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization, Ted, there was a representative from WashDOT, and there was a presentation on the regional transportation organizations and metropolitan transportation organizations. Boy, that's a mouthful. But what I found out is that by law, we're supposed to, as ports, we're supposed to give them a transportation plan. PRTPO, the port's supposed to give the PRTPO a transportation plan. So I looked it up, and Mason County has a transportation plan that directly does involve the Belfair UGA. And so at least there's part of it. That's something that, like you said, Ted, I will start trying to. The only problem is that with PRTPO you have to be an elected, but then if we meet at one of them, then we have to notice
Right.
it, which I don't have a problem with, because it's really critical, and I appreciate you going and doing your work. Thank you. That's
I
great.
agree, Commissioner. I think we should notice it, and that if you and Commissioner Sheridan would like to join me, there's a lot of information that comes down this pipeline that's affecting us from Allyn all the way up through Gorse. And I would just like some other heads or people with opinions to jump in. So I just don't like to, I don't like to vote yes on something that I think all three of us could
Sure.
come up with a good plan. I would like to see some sidewalks in Allyn, but we have State Route 300, we have 106, we have a whole lot of issues that we need to deal with. So, and I think the three of us could actually make a little difference. So, and I
Yeah,
know Jeff Carey, if he's still in the meeting with Tip Cap, there's a lot of stuff we should.
They didn't elect me.
oh, he just said that you didn't get elected, darn it.
I didn't get picked, but I got moved to the PAC.
Oh, good.
Did you hear that?
I'm so, I just heard some garbling.
No, I said, I put in an application for both TIPCAP and the PAC because I wasn't sure either one was gonna happen. I didn't get picked for TIPCAP, but they did pick me for the PAC.
Did you hear that?
Well, that's a mouthful.
I did hear that. I'm sorry, Jeff, because one of the big things that I like to see is alternate route from Belfair to, let's say, Shelton. And we do have alternate routes, so.
Right. Well, I'm not planning just to go empty-handed into PAC from the TIPCAP because part of the reason I chose, and I'm sorry, taking.
No, that's fine.
Was because it appeared that when the Planning Advisory Committee approved the EIS, there was no discussion with TIPCAP on the transportation at all, none.
Did not know that.
And
Wow.
so we were got blindsided and, you know, what happened, happened. But the bottom line is I just said, okay, I'm gonna get in the middle of that because that should not have happened that way. So that's one of the reasons I signed up for the PAC, not because I really enjoy the planning committee, but
Right.
because that's a heavy duty committee, but it needed some input from a transportation point of view.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be wise for all of us commissioners to take a look at the Mason County Transportation Plan.
Okay.
I think there's a few things that we could change on that, but it's important that we know what they're planning, what they're doing. So anyway,
Yeah.
and then, well, let me finish this and then we'll move on. October 25th was the groundbreaking for the new Mason Transit Authority Park and Ride Facility in Belfair. I think you went.
Yes.
I was supposed to, but I didn't make it. So, there we go. Okay. Anything else?
No, I just, that's one of the takeaways as far as looking at some areas that we should have our eyes on. We came away from our small port meeting, was dialing into the transportation side of things. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you for bringing that
critical.
up. Yeah.
Okay, Travis, you're on. Thank
Okay.
you.
Travis Merrill, Port of Allyn Security. I don't have a lot to give you today.
That's good.
Yeah, that's just usually good in the security field. Best thing I got is the light went out, one of our PUD lights went out on the 22nd down there in the North Shore. Let Larry know about that. I don't know where we got with that, but eventually it'll get fixed by the PUD. The bathrooms have been clear. Nobody's trying to hang out past 8 at this point. Very few people have had to run out, probably 4 or 5 incidents where I've just had to tell people to leave at night. Weather's so bad that, you know, nobody really wants to come down here. Haven't had one incident that I didn't actually put into the report. Somebody did bump the gate enough to make it so it couldn't close. So I just went into the tool shed, got the tools, and made it close.
Huh. Okay.
So crisis averted. The gates were closed that night. Other than that, any questions for me?
No, not for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
We
Travis.
like those reports except for the gate.
Yeah. Okay, Executive Director report, Larry?
All right, financial issues. Revenues continue to perform as expected for this time of year in this economy. Some money and cash flow are tight. We did see our property tax receipts at the end of October. Between those, borrowing from the water fund and the line of credit, we'll get through the end of April when we get those property tax receipts. We did loan the water fund $35,000 in 2020, and it has paid back 20 of it of that, and we can still use another 15 of that for payback as well before we need to borrow from the fund or the line of credit. Cash flow is a balancing act, but we'll be fine and begin paying back whatever we borrow after we get the April receipts. As you can see from the general fund vouchers, we've also cut expenses to the bone and are deferring anything we can until then. So 2020 is going to be a lean year. 2023 will be a lean year with a tight belt. Dealing with the modem issue at Hood Canal Marina Pay Station has finally been resolved. Ventec did agree to a reduced rate for their cellular service, as we need to use theirs in that one location to make it work dependably. Jan has had some unexpected family issues come up, which has slowed her down. She told me on the 26th she just wasn't going to be able to complete the work. So we brought in someone from the Manchester Water Company who does all their Springbrook accounting for both the water utility and the Port of Manchester. She started last week, is going to finish what Jan started, teach Leanne how to do the reconciliations correctly. But I'm going to have more on this in my budget narrative here. Also, something we learned at the Small Ports meeting is that you all now have to approve grants before we can submit for reimbursements. The ones we have are on your agenda for approval tonight, along with a single resolution, 2022-013, that is all of them. 2023 budget. We have the 2023 draft budget on the agenda tonight. You will need to have a special meeting sometime this month for a public hearing and to finalize and approve it. The only staff increases are for cost of living, although that is 8.7%, the same increase as Social Security. However, we've not yet received revenue figures from the county, so projecting revenue accurately is a guess at this point. We used last year's property tax revenue and added the allowed 1%. However, we expect revenue to be higher than what is shown there. Water system issues. I've received all the documents from the state for the grant for the new well. Got the comments back from the Squaxin tribe, but not the Skokomish tribe. The Squaxins agreed to approval if the county will formalize a letter that was signed in 2009 concerning Sherwood Creek into a memorandum of agreement. I wrote the memorandum, sent it to the county for signatures, and it's my understanding it will be approved by the county commissioners at tomorrow's meeting. We're also going to need a cultural resource survey on the well site, but that cost is reimbursable by the grant. Aspect and Northwest Water have also finalized everything to put this out to bid, which we should be able to do once the state and tribes sign off on everything. As far as the acquisition of Jeff Carey's water system, I filled out the application from Department of Health, but we need a sign off from both tribes as well. I've sent them both letters asking for that, and I'm waiting responses. I've put together a memorandum of agreement that basically outlines the parameters of the deal you all previously indicated you would approve, and so did Jeff. Have to have this formally approved and submitted along with resolution as part of the package for the loan. Purchase and sale agreement will come for your approval once the loan is approved, but it could come sooner. We also may need to either acquire to get an easement of some additional property at the well site for accommodating all the additional equipment. Jeff owns the adjacent lot and has agreed to work with us on either an easement or a purchase. As you saw at the groundbreaking, that lot isn't buildable but has a nice view, so it can be used, would make a nice pocket park. I was thinking we could call it Jeff Carey Park. Or Deborah Carey Park. Or Jeff and Deborah Carey Park. If we do need to acquire that, the loan will cover half of it. The application period closes November 30th, so I'm working on getting all of our ducks in a row for submission. Security camera issues. I turned this over to Joe Brogan, who sent the vendor a demand letter telling him we want the equipment removed and the $18,000 we paid for the cameras refunded because he hasn't supplied all the cameras we paid for or completed the installation. Letter also said if he didn't respond, we would file suit. He tried to justify not refunding any money by saying that the equipment cost had escalated and the $18,000 was used up. That doesn't fly when you run the numbers, and Joe told him so, but he's sticking to that claim. So we filed in small claims court in Kitsap County for the maximum $10,000 we're allowed. This covers the difference between the $18,000 advance for the purchase of the equipment, which we have and is installed according to the bid, and a portion of the attorney's fees we incurred dealing with them. Our trial date is December 28th. And aside to this, at the small ports meeting, I found out the port that originally recommended this vendor is also having a similar problem with him and may sue as well. Meanwhile, I met with another vendor who's done work for several other ports, and I'm waiting on a bid, which I should have Wednesday. I talked to him earlier today. What may work is to use the equipment supplied by the original vendor if their software is compatible. If the existing equipment is reused and redeployed in a different way, it'll reduce the cost of the new equipment. Redistricting. On your agenda for tonight is adoption of the redistricting plan along with a resolution for that. Once approved, I'll submit it to the county auditor. It's due November 30th. Employees' Policies and Procedures Manual. Endurus asked for our Employee Policies and Procedures Manual had been reviewed by an attorney lately. It hadn't been since it was revised in June of 2018. So I sent it off for review a couple months ago and got back the attorney's revisions, which mainly focus on changes in federal employment law. There were no other changes. It's on your agenda for review and approval tonight. Once that's done, I can send it to Endurus. Endurus insurance premium. We got a 30% increase in our Endurus premium, which is now more than $37,000. I originally thought it was due to our claims, both the storm damage to the dock and the wire theft, which exceeded our entire 2022 premium. But in talking to other ports, they too are experiencing similar size increases even with no claims. I talked to Endurus at the small ports meeting, and they've agreed to break it into 4 payments for us, first of which is due now and was that separate voucher you approved. It was separate because we got the payment schedule after the vouchers for this meeting had been finished and sent to the county. Strategic Planning Initiative. When I first came here almost 8 years ago, we had no strategic plan. We hired a facilitator and convened a Saturday retreat to come up with one. Except for the Oyster House, we've completed all the projects we outlined at that time. We put some new ones in our comprehensive scheme harbor improvement since then, but if we're to set a direction for the next 5 years or so, we should sit down with a professional facilitator and discuss where we want to go and how to get there. Except for Commissioner Scott, neither of the other 2 current commissioners were involved in the original process, so this is an opportune time to move forward if you all are so inclined to do so. I contacted Abby Russell of Mal Foster Longue, who has done a lot of this kind of work for other ports, and was at the small ports meeting, and asked her for a quote to help us. That's included in your meeting packet. To echo Mr. Van Buskirk, I was a little surprised at the price. I think it's a little more than we can afford. 2023 officers. It's time to elect next year's chair and vice chair. In the regular scheme of things, Commissioner Jackson would become chair and Commissioner Sheridan vice chair, but it's up to you all what you want to do. There's no set rules about it. We also need to decide upon assignments for local boards like EDC, MTA, RPTPO, as well as who will be the WPPA 2023 trustee. It's on your agenda for action tonight. Old business, Oyster House, nothing new to report on the building itself. Geoengineers have straightened out all the confusion for the Army Corps permit, and we now have a copy of it in hand. Yeah. Been a long time coming. We've applied for and been approved for the hydraulic permit for our Hood Canal facilities and for Allyn. Our goal is to get the pile driving out to bid as soon as possible, so hopefully we'll be able to drive our pilings during this year's fish window, which closes February 15th. Timing is a critical issue for both getting someone to bid on this as well as getting the work done in a timely manner. Sweetwater Park, not much to report other than the Salmon Center's closed on the Peterson parcel. It's taken ownership of it. At some future point, they will transfer ownership to us, but there's no rush on that, at least not until the project can be funded. We've had the property surveyed and posted, no trespassing signs on the boundaries, along with trail cams. The entire property remains closed to the public until the tree situation is completely resolved, which will happen when the park is developed and be paid for out of that grant. RCO is aware of the situation, has agreed our actions are totally appropriate and acceptable to them. Kitsap All Ports meeting, the last meeting was October 24th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend because that was the same night as a redistricting hearing. I will be taking minutes at the next meeting. Lucky me. So, criminalization of marina rules, nothing new. So,
Okay.
that's my report.
I did have a,
Happy to answer any questions.
yeah, I did have a question. Let me see. Trail cams, when did you set those up?
I'm waiting on them to get here,
Okay,
but we've ordered them. We're gonna have 3 of them.
okay. And did you send out bids for anything yet? For
No,
the
this
oyster?
week.
Okay,
You know, we spent the last week and a half on the budget,
I know.
so.
It's not like you're not busy, right? I get that. Okay, excellent. Well, you already dealt with old business items. Now we're to new business items. And the first item is discussion and review of the draft 2023 budget and set a date for the public hearing on the 2023 budget.
Yes.
So I've perused through this a little bit. I don't have any comments at this point. Commissioner Jackson or Sheridan, do you have comments that you'd like, or questions? And has this been put on the web?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Jackson, do you have any comments about the budget proposed?
No, I don't. I went through it. It looks
Okay.
Well, I have a narrative about this, if y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Larry. That would be
All right,
helpful.
we've not yet received the revenue totals from the county as of today.
Mhm.
So how much property tax revenue and new construction money we're gonna get are huge question marks at this point. Hopefully we'll have these in time for the final public hearing and approval. So this is a very preliminary look at what we foresee for 2023. But without the basic information of revenue, you know, accuracy is problematic.
Yeah.
However, we've adhered to our basic philosophy of budgeting revenue conservatively and expenses liberally. For purpose of this document, we used the 2022 property tax revenue total and added the allowable 1% to that number. In reality, it will be more, but just how much more is unknown. Same goes for new construction money, so we used last year's number. With the amount of new construction in both Allyn and Belfair, it could be considerably more, but it all depends on factors out of our control, as well as how the county calculates exactly how much money is new construction, you know, how much of that qualifies.
Yeah.
One question we always get has to do with timber trust money. This has always been an uncertain amount because of how it's calculated and distributed. In 2018, we budgeted $10,000 and got over $87,000. Some of that money we used to buy the new truck and do some other things. However, the following year, we budgeted $10,000 and just got a little over $5,000. In 2022, we budgeted 10. So far, we've received about 14. It's just not a revenue source we can depend on, so we always budget it conservatively at 10,000. Anything over that we consider to be a windfall. Because of the legal expenses of the lawsuit, our cash flow position is very tight. We're paying back the general fund for the $35,000 that loaned the water fund in 2020 for engineering associated with the new well and expansion planning. Water fund reimbursed the general fund $20,000 of that earlier this year, and we'll pay back the other $15,000 most likely in January or February, again depending on cash flow. One thing I do want to make very clear, because this came up in the lawsuit, is that at no time has the general fund subsidized the actual operations of the water system. Water system operates in the black and always has. As you recall, in 2018, we restructured the rates to keep it operating in the black, and it's very healthy. That said, we've arranged a line of credit with Kitsap Bank. How much of that line will be is still being negotiated, but it'll be enough to pay a big chunk of our outstanding legal bills, carry us through the end of April when we receive our next installment of property tax revenue, which is usually about 65% of the total for the year. For this document, not knowing the exact numbers we can expect to receive, we've used a credit line to fill in the projected shortfall. But before using the line of credit, we'll borrow from the water fund, because by doing so, we'll be essentially paying interest on the amount we borrow back to ourselves instead of paying it to the bank. But once we get the actual revenue numbers from the county, we'll have a much more realistic picture. We've cut expenses to the bone, negotiated a payment plan for the balance of our legal bills, as well as our 2023 insurance premium, and aren't spending any money for anything we don't need. The good news is, looking at the document, everything on the revenue side that's in red is taking in more money than we budgeted, and that's in about half the categories. Expenses. As you can see from looking at the numbers, expenses exceeded our projections in a number of areas. This is the first time in the last 7 years that that's been the case. But when you break it down, the most glaring example is legal fees due to the lawsuit and insurance, which has increased by 30%. As I said in my report, spoken with a number of other port directors, and they're facing the same kind of increases from Honduras. So it isn't just us or the claims we had, it seems to be across the board for other ports, large and small, with or without claims. The next worst places are utilities, electric in particular, gas for both the truck and equipment, as well as maintenance on our facilities, plus computer and internet costs, among others, as well as just inflationary cost increases from our suppliers. It's all just taken a combined toll. Also, as you know, we first switched to Bias, now Springbrook. For our accounting, we were their first port. They set up our chart of accounts, but after 2 years of using them, we've come to the conclusion chart of accounts they set up needs to be significantly revised to reflect what we need to get the most accurate information we can and get it in a timely manner. That's also been part of the reconciliation issues, because there are multiple bars numbers for the same items and other problems as well. If you look at the draft document, you can see the categories marked in red and green are all ones that have software issues. I spoke with Springbrook this afternoon. They said when we close out 2022, we can set up a complete new chart of accounts for 2023, which will be what we need, not what they gave us. Doing this will not only give us more clarity, but it will save significantly on labor costs trying to sort it all out. Other issues include payroll. The only raises anyone got were cost of living adjustments. However, the percentage is the same as Social Security's increase, 8.7%. And as I've told you all individually, I will be retiring sometime in 2023. Timing is somewhat uncertain right now, but I'll give you plenty of notice once things become more certain. My employment contract also requires a 30-day notice. But I'd like to have my replacement identified before then and have a month to work with them, get them up to speed on everything. I've added a category for the new executive director for 1 month with salary costs that reflect my rate of pay. If you hire someone for less, those numbers go down proportionately. The numbers for computers look high, but that's an all-inclusive cost instead of being spread across equipment, hardware, software, and service calls for problems, which adds to non-productive labor costs as well. And we've had some experience now with our new software vendor, and they have been outstanding.
Yay.
I mean, we call them, they're Johnny on the spot, and they know what they're doing. So. Also, Springbrook is a major increase, but it includes using their utility billing module, which will pay for itself in labor costs saved. Right now, we have to calculate the amount of water each customer uses based on meter readings, do the math to match it up to our rates, physically prepare an invoice, physically receive the payment and post it in the water fund. As the system grows, this will just continue to drive up our labor costs for this. The utility billing module will calculate the bill based on the meter readings, prepare the invoice, and post the payments once we receive it. Debt service, basically repaying the line of credit, will be a major expense, but we couldn't begin to calculate that without the revenue numbers from the county, since we won't be able to tell how much of the line we'll need to use. We also expect revenue to increase from the gazebo due to the increase in rates implemented this year. And we now have all the pay stations working correctly as well. So we should capture some additional revenue there. We'll also have the entire legal debt paid off by year's end, and we'll have been working on paying back the credit line beginning in June. Once we get through April, we should be able to completely recover by the end of 2023. So that's what I have to say. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I was gonna show you this chart of accounts we deal with.
Yeah, take a look at this. It's 8 pages
One point type.
in 8-point type.
Yeah, so
And that's what
that
they
means
gave us.
consolidated,
Yeah,
that's
I
just
remember.
crazy.
We can
trying to get into that.
reduce that to about the number that's on that sheet.
Yeah, that was brought to my attention the day when I was in here, it's crazy.
Yeah, and we have over time gotten categories, budget line items, repairs and maintenance, maintenance and repairs,
Oh,
repairs and maintenance, this facility, that facility.
Right, it needs to
Yeah,
be-
so
Yeah,
it's-
and that's been part of the reconciliation problem.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
well,
not
needs a
friendly,
little
I get
house
it,
cleaning.
okay.
I get
You
it.
know, because when
Yeah.
Jan was looking at it, she had questions, well, what does this mean? What does that mean?
So making that change in what we use, plus having someone come in and get it back on track is a positive
Yeah, the
step.
gal that's doing it, she does all of the utility billing for Manchester Water, and she does all the bookkeeping for the Port of Manchester.
So
And she is-
3,000 customers she's got.
Wow.
She's
And
Yes.
she's with
Yeah.
bias.
She's
correct?
nice.
With bias?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what they use.
too.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, it's a positive step, so I
Wonderful.
don't have any questions.
Okay. So we could, do you want to set up our meeting now for the
Yes.
budget hearing?
Yes, because
Okay.
she's got to notice it.
Yeah, it has
Okay.
to be 10
And-
days from now, not
And
more
we
than
have
12.
to submit the budget to the county by November 30th.
So do we need to do
13
that
days from
before we
Thursday.
allow some more public comment, or do we, what do you want to do?
Well, it's online, so
Okay.
the public hearing gives them the opportunity to share concerns.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
then
we'll
we
have,
can discuss it,
and we'll have the final budget online before then.
yeah, for
Right.
people to.
I mean, all we're waiting on is the revenue numbers from the county.
I get it, this is a projected
And,
draft.
and just as a point of order about that, you know, Kitsap County, and I got this from the Port of Manchester from being there, they sent out a thing with, here's how much you're gonna get, here's how much you're gonna get for new construction, here's how much you're gonna get for other stuff, here's how much your 1% adds up to. I mean, they did all the calculations that we have to do. They did it for everybody and sent a one-page sheet and sent it to us a month ago.
Oh, wow,
I sent that to Mason County and just said, how about doing something like this?
yeah,
And
no response yet?
nobody responded.
Okay,
Follow up.
Yeah.
Okay,
They do their way.
all right, so what works for starters?
would you like to do it on a Monday, the 21st?
Sure,
Ted?
that works for me.
Ted, how about you? Monday, the 21st?
That works for me also.
Okay.
Yep, I'll circle it.
6 o'clock?
Perfect.
All right.
All right, that was easy. It's also not the middle of the summer.
Yes, that's true, and hunting is over with, right?
Yes, I got my deer.
Okay,
Be eating venison for a year.
okay, I think we're done with that one, right? No other questions? Moving forward to 10B, which is discuss the review and update of the personnel policies and procedures manual. You know, I didn't get that. Did you?
Yeah, I sent it.
Because I didn't see it.
Well, the only changes to it are
The
the changes in
RCWs.
federal law. We didn't
Okay.
change anything else.
Okay,
Can you highlight what that change in federal law was so that I,
No, I did not.
Okay.
PFML
What's that?
Probably
Yeah.
PFML and the ULNI.
It had, probably has to do with COVID-19.
And depending on what the legislature does, we may have that long-term
Yeah.
health care
What's
in
that?
there too. I said, depending on what the legislature does, we may have that long-term health care tax that they want to implement.
Okay.
And it'll have to be added to that. But again, you know, that's a cost that's gonna go in our budget that we have no idea how much it is because it hasn't been determined yet.
Okay.
So did you guys get the chance to look at it? Ted, did you look at it?
I did not, no.
Because I don't have it in
didn't.
I don't have it in my documents.
Now, hold on a minute.
I'm going through it, I don't see it in my,
What'd you send it?
Here, I've got all
So-
the documents I sent here, hold on. Thing is, there were so many
I know,
documents that.
14.
Yeah.
so, Commissioner Scott, can we push this to the next meeting,
Yeah.
meeting? Or does, Larry, we have to get it done now? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
can
don't
we-
see it
can we
in my
table it?
document.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's table it.
yeah, we'll table it. I think we should table it, because I'd like to look at it too. I haven't looked at it in
Here it
a
is.
long time.
Okay.
Good, well, go ahead and forward it to us.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
But we
Yeah.
would like to table
It's
it.
been
Okay.
tabled, I haven't
Sure.
looked at it.
Okay,
I'll send it right now.
great.
All right.
Thank you.
It's probably an oversight on our part, but we can table, we are.
Yeah, can. Good, well, thank you, Larry, for that. And then we'll look at it and deal with it. The public hearing, do you want, well, anyway, I won't try to jam too much in that. Maybe we could make the public hearing in a special meeting and decide on that policy, maybe.
Sure.
Okay, but we
You know,
can
that
talk about
doesn't,
that.
are you talking about the employee policy?
Yeah.
That doesn't need a public hearing.
Well, no, I know that,
Oh.
but to decide on it, we might be able to add that in addition to the public
On
hearing.
the 21st.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
Why not?
sure.
Yep,
okay.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay, next is the redistricting plan. And we've had a chance to look at it. We've had a hearing about that as well. We haven't had any comments. Was there any comments about the redistricting?
Only in the resolution,
Sure.
only
Go
in the
ahead.
resolution that I didn't see any reference or couldn't find any, what the plan finally was.
Oh.
I've heard bits and pieces, like it was gonna just stay the same as one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Well,
They're
it's
staying
just
the
basically
same.
a letter.
Okay, fine.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
but
basically
I
just
couldn't
the
tell
letter.
that anywhere. It's
Okay.
like, we're talking about the plan, but there's
Yeah.
no plan anywhere.
I see what you're saying.
It's the letter that was
It is-
proposed,
Okay.
and that was online.
Okay, so you want to look at
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
This-
I don't know.
No,
Okay.
it's all good.
All I'm saying is when I looked, I couldn't tell what the plan was.
Okay,
And if you say the plan's a letter and the plan is to leave it as is because of what's happening in this county?
Yes.
Correct.
Your district, fine.
with a very well laid out explanation as to why it's going to be left
Well,
on.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I know that answer.
Okay, and you and I
Okay.
talked on the phone about that, your concern
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
yeah. Cool. So,
Okay,
do we-
well, we can go ahead and do the.
Did you approve the resolution?
Not
No,
yet.
we haven't yet.
Okay.
We were just kind of
Let's do that.
discussing that, so let me
So
see.
Kane, I
that
just sent you
is-
the employee policy.
Pardon?
I just sent you all the employee
Okay,
policy.
Okay.
wonderful. I'll make a motion to approve,
Let's see, which one is that? That should be 11.
it is,
Is that 11?
yes.
If you like, Commissioner Scott, I could read it.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Port of Allyn, Washington, resolution number 2022-011, be it resolved by the Commissioners of the Port of Allyn as follows, whereas the Board of
Commissioners of the Port of Allen have met and after discussion and input from the public have considered the proposed update to its redistricting plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners have duly considered all relevant evidence and public testimony presented, hereby resolves to adopt the update to its 2003 redistricting plan adopted the 7th day of November 2022.
Okay, so the resolution has been proposed, and
I'll make a motion to accept that resolution.
do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you,
Jeff, I already
gentlemen.
have this letter too, so, okay.
Yeah.
It- It's what you were hoping. It's what we all knew was common sense
It
too.
just wasn't clear when, like,
Okay,
it's like we talked about everything.
All right.
Not about what it was.
right on. Yeah.
So resolution 12 has been removed at this point.
Yep.
So we are going to resolution 13. Whoops, that's not it. Just a second here, let me find that one. And that one is the grants. Sorry, I'm trying to find it here.
I know there's so many of them.
I can read it while you, if you want.
Yeah, please do.
For
Go
starting,
right
yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Be it resolved by the Commissioners of the Port of Allyn as follows. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Port of Allyn have met and after discussion have considered the acceptance of 3 Department of Commerce grants to the Sergeant Oyster House and, 1 for the replacement, redevelopment, and expansion of Allyn Marina in the full-service facility, and from the State Recreation and Conservation Office, RCO, for the development of staging area on the Allyn Waterfront Park. Now therefore it is resolved, the Board of Commissioners have the duly considering all relevant evidence presented, hereby resolves to accept all the aforementioned grants and comply with the terms and conditions of each as specified. I'll make a motion to move forward with this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved.
Yeah, they talked about this at Small Ports,
Yeah,
but they didn't say when it had been implemented, just that you had to do it now.
oh,
So not knowing for sure when it was implemented, I thought, just get everything that we've
That's right.
had and, just be covered.
that's good, thank you. Okay, and the next one is the election of officers. Any comments?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that Judy Scott remain chair for next year.
Okay, I'll accept that, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
No,
Well, I've given it some thought, so I'll second that motion.
okay. And then I'll nominate you as vice chair, John Sheridan as
I
vice chair.
accept that.
And Ted, you would be considered secretary? Is that right?
Yeah.
I accept, yep.
You don't have to take any minutes, though, Ted.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. All right, moving on to 10G, discussion of the strategic plan for 2023 through 28. I thought it was a little high myself. Let's see if I can find that document or the email. Or do you want to talk
Small
about?
Foster Longy proposal.
Okay.
There. It says proposed scope and budget, Port of Allyn strategic planning workshop, develop an agenda and materials, coordinate with the Port of Allyn, research is needed, draft and finalize agenda and materials, facilitate the workshop, materials is needed, i.e. printed manuals, flip charts, etc. Travel for 2 staff members to the Port of Allyn, preparation, setup, and facilitation for 1 4-hour workshop at the port offices, post-workshop summary, draft and finalize the summary. They have a total of 27 hours and a cost of $58.50. Labor's $5,400. Direct travel costs and materials $450. I have mixed emotions about this. I feel strongly we need to do this, but I think this is way out of our
It is right now.
income level.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
You know,
I wish it wasn't.
I mean, we had it done last time. The facilitator was $1,500,
Mm-hmm,
and she did a pretty good job.
yeah.
I thought
Who
anyway.
was that? Was that
Donya
Kathleen?
Keating.
Oh, yeah. Is she still around?
Yeah, I think so.
We do need to do something
I
before
agree.
you leave.
You know,
You know.
I thought about maybe talking to Mark Neary, the county manager, you know, because he knows what the county's planning, and maybe he wouldn't be a bad person to do this. I
That
don't
might be
know.
more fitting
It
than,
wouldn't hurt to
it
ask.
sure wouldn't. And
Well,
then
that's what I thought.
it's a
Yeah.
good alignment. I mean, to have someone has a grasp on that big picture side of things and as far as where we fit in, and then what you referred to earlier with transportation, right? So I think that's a starter before we move forward on something like this. because
I
we're-
think so,
We're
too.
getting our house, we have positive things we're doing and recovering and moving forward in a good direction, but this is putting the cart before the horse, though we need to do this.
Well, but this is just way too much money.
It is, that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
I mean, I don't think we need flip charts and,
No,
No.
you know,
yeah,
manuals for how to do this. It just,
that's an expensive PowerPoint presentation,
pretty much,
yeah. Generals like that.
So, but, you
So
know,
you'll
I'll
get-
ask Mark.
Great, that'd be great. As
You know,
long as
I
it
don't
wouldn't
know
be-
if he'll do it. I don't know if he, you know,
Well-
does that or anything,
Sure
but
wouldn't hurt to ask.
you
Well,
know,
as long
he's-
as it wouldn't be a conflict of
I
interest.
really
for
like
him
Mark.
either.
He's real
Okay,
practical
yeah.
and, you know, he's very smart. And, you know, I think he might make a pretty good, you know,
Yeah,
Okay.
facilitator for us.
To start.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Ted, do you have any comment about it?
No, I agree with the direction you're going. I think Mark Neary would be a great person to talk to. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Great. Okay, good,
So-
thank
Okay,
you.
well, I'll talk to him.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. So now we are at, wow, we got through that pretty quick. Good
Yeah.
of the order.
Public comment.
Well, it wasn't on
If
the
I
agenda,
could-
but we can do the public comment. Pardon? What did you say, Ted?
Oh, no, I'll wait until after the public comment.
Any public comment? Jeff? Thank you.
Jeff Carey. A couple things. One is, while I don't serve on TIPCAP any longer, I, say to the port, you do need to participate with some of the transportation things, and part of that is both at the county level as far as, Public Works goes, as well as the planning level of community development. And that's why I ended up signing up for the Planning Advisory Commission a few months back. So there's just a number of projects that didn't get considered for Belfair as well as Allyn. And the state, for example, has a project coming up on Highway 3 there at the Agate cutoff, where there's going to be a roundabout there. And, for ages, this community's wanted to straighten out this intersection called Highway 3 North Bay Road and Wade Street and all that. And there's been a lot of technical issues on it, but when I was last on the TIPCAP, we were starting to look at things, and in the beginning, it didn't seem like there was physically the space to pull it off without, potentially having to work around or move the pump station, there at Wade Street that pumps all Lower Allen and Victor up over the hill as far as the sewer goes. But looking at what the state has proposed, like at Agate and also at, what's the other one there, up the road, Harstein.
All right.
They're going to look at, over the next, my understanding at least, what's budget is, over the next couple of years, putting that in, two roundabouts there. And looking especially at Agate, believe it or not, the slopes, that's coming down that hill, the slopes are almost perfect here for they're in the same alignment as we have here in Allyn. In other words, there's slope and you're coming into a flat area and all that kind of thing. And so there is a space to work it. It's just going to be something new that people aren't accustomed to. But, and nobody likes to go around in circles for a while, but after a while, when it finally gets working right, it's not so bad. So anyway, I'm just, mentioning to the port that not only you have your, your regional transportation thing, but there's a component that really the port, I feel, should be communicating to Public Works through TIPCAP and or through, the community development, although community development at this moment doesn't realize, I mean, at least give me the impression, my opinion. They may know it, but it's not been communicated. So my opinion is that they're not really into it yet. They're just now figuring out how to get into capital facilities after 20-some years, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, another issue on water systems, and I'm not going to get into nitty-gritty, but to me, looking at the port's water system plan, look at my water system plan, Washington Waters, and a few others, it appears that some, for lack of a better word, and I don't know yet how to pull it off, but for lack of a better word, there needs to be some auditing and keeping everybody honest, all the water purveyors honest. And I don't mean that things are being pulled under the rug or anything like that. What I mean is we have engineers looking at things and making predictions, and nobody's really challenging it. And I found in my own case with my water system that challenging some things with Department of Health, you know, taking them to task a little bit, not pushing back hard, but just taking them to task in a logical, you know, straight up forward method, addressed a number of things and eventually, you know, straightened out. For example, one thing like with the port versus our water system, the port has, in their water system plan, they have to provide twice the amount of water that I have to provide to a residential customer. That's what they're factoring. What the important part of that is the cost and the engineering and the stuff for ratepayers, consumers, and what have you, and it's going to kill this community if we don't get on top of that.
I see.
That's a good point, yeah.
I know I sound like a broken record because you, Judy, you've known me for a number of years through sewer and through different things, but in time we've taken a relatively inexpensive place to live and through our utilities made it very expensive to be here because they hit us every month. I mean, you know the story of Belfair Water, you know the story of the sewer, and you know where I've come down on the different sewers. I'm not for saying raise the rate, you know, it should be free, but what I am saying is let's get serious and make it, you know, affordable eventually. I realize we have our problems, the debts we have to pay off, but at some point we got to make it affordable because, you know, I don't want to go on a big soapbox here, but it's like, it seems like every utility we get involved with, when I say we, the community, the ports, the county, the bigger we end up costing all of us a whole ton of money, and I mean, I look at things and I say, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And just like this one point, as an example, if I'm correct in what I observed in the port's water system, that would mean you could possibly get 50% maybe more connections with what you have. And I'm not saying you don't need to put another well in, I'm not saying any of those things. What I'm really saying is there needs to be somebody looking at the bigger picture, because there's a lot in your reports, and until we started looking at, you know, selling our system to the port, and I looked at the ports and looked at mine, looked at all the different things going on, I realized how much people don't really know. And unfortunately, I can understand in an elected official, you don't have time to, I mean, it's a nitty-gritty. I mean, I don't say, you know, your director, executive director has the time to do it, but something has to be figured out there, because it appears to me that, I'm not saying people are lying or cheating or anything like that. What I'm saying is there's nobody really auditing what's coming out and making sure that we, the public, the ratepayers, now get at least have a good deal on it.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Well, that's great.
great, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
A lot to think about, you know?
yeah,
I mean, I like that because
yeah.
instead of just accepting everything coming our way, you know, pushing back and asking questions that maybe they can't even answer themselves.
Well, doing our homework, I think,
Yes.
because water is really complicated.
I know.
Just the
It
seminars
is.
I've gone to.
Yeah.
I've
Been
gone
a
to,
huge learning curve for me.
when I was going to the water rights seminars even, it's like, it's overwhelming. It really is.
And I'm not talking about water rights. I'm
I know.
talking about your system.
But
Right.
just that.
The requirement.
That's true. I mean, I
Yeah.
get that. I know that, but still.
Okay.
because we don't know, but
So
we need to know.
and I really appreciate it because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be continuing to learn more about making not just informed decisions, but learn more about things that are even the right questions to ask, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't for input from yourself
Yeah.
included, right?
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, no, that's all. That's what I'm taking away from it anyway.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Barry, you have anything?
Sure.
Ted, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I thought maybe if I stood back a little bit. Barry Betzinger, Allyn. I'm going to change my my good of the order because it is for the good, like I enjoy doing at the end of the meeting. First of all, I don't want to take all the time up here, but anyway, I really want to thank the port, the commissioners, Larry, everybody that allows Don O'Keefe to keep the port landscaping and maintenance up. I'll tell you, this time of the year, when you look at the trees outside and try and count the leaves, it'd take you, you know, a year and they'd be all down before you counted them anyway. But the to me, the importance of keeping the park nice and taking care of these leaves when it's time, and it takes a lot of time in the fall. They don't all blow over into my yard where I have to clean them up. So this is a selfish thank you. But anyway, it is great. I appreciate it. And of course, I work with Don from time to time and try and help out where I can. But, you know, he just really does a great job. Another thanks for Travis. This last year, we've had a couple of little things, questionable car here and there, and then of course the one that drove into our yard and the last year. But anyway, you know, every time I've talked to Travis, I've called him, and I don't want to call him too often because I told him I don't want to be, you know, a pest. But anyway, he's always responded immediately and very positively, and I thank him for that. So anyway, thank you all. A couple of things that I'd like to bring up on the water system. I applaud you're moving forward with another well, and basically just because I know a little bit more than maybe some of the other water users, that we were very close to running out of water a couple of times this last year. And because of different problems with our single supply. And with a second supply, I'm assuming that if this pump went down again or whatever, we wouldn't get to the low levels that we experienced this last year. I understand that the people on the hill with only, you know, a couple of feet or whatever it was that were left in the tank didn't have much pressure at all. And with the whatever a pump or what you're going to do to kind of maintain an even water pressure in the system, I guess, is very much appreciated by us all. And so I applaud that a second source, because you don't usually ever put in a single source when you have to depend on it. And so I'm glad we're finally getting, you know, a little bit additional supply there. Let's see, secondly, I'd just like to throw this out, and I could comment more at a later date, but I'd like to just address a couple of safety problems. Ted kind of cued me when he first spoke about the sidewalks in Allyn and different things like that. Two things that living here and on Drum Street that happen, and I'm sure you're probably aware, especially in the summertime, but it can happen anytime, even during the winter, when the traffic stops and pulls over in front of the church and all the way back to the concrete block building. especially rigs pulling trailers and boats and semis and things like that, trying to turn left out of Drum Street to get up into Lakeland Village or whatever, you're taking your life in your hands. If the traffic isn't slowed down already, you know, the main speed limit of 35 has, you know, exceeded somewhat by quite a few people. And we have taken the, if it's really bad, we turn right and then either pull into the port parking lot here and turn around where we can see both directions, or we just go up to Homestead and make a left into Homestead. So you can get around it, but there's a lot of people from the public that use the park too during the summertime with kids. And this is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw it out that maybe you could at least alert the commissioners or whoever has some influence on the state, because it is a state highway, to consider, you know, what can be done about that. And the only other thing is the 10-mile-an-hour speed limit down into the park. Vicki and I have wanted to search where the Highway Patrol buys their nail strips for throwing out in front of cars, because people, a lot of people really come flying down. There's no reason to, but you know, I asked, actually, knowing it's a county road, I talked to Randy Netherland about putting in speed bump, and they're afraid of litigation, and the county won't put in speed bumps, is what he told me. So that's unfortunate to be so concerned about that when they actually are speeding, you know, that they're gonna, you know, tear the oil pan off or something that's lowered next to the street anyway. It's yeah, well, I just hope that the kids and the people, you know, watch out for cars coming down the street. So a couple of safety things that you may just keep in the back of your mind, and I know you've got a lot going on, but for your future plans and things, maybe just talking with the commissioners or whatever.
Well, that definitely needs to be part of the thought process. And of course, the state loves roundabouts.
No, we don't want another roundabout. Actually, if they made the roundabout like they have the first one up out of Belfair there, that you have to slow down so much for, maybe they can't get going as fast through Allyn.
Right.
I actually, just dropping the speed limit through Allyn would help you not maybe getting killed if, you know, getting broadsided coming out of Drum Street.
They need to slow down, the speed limit would have to slow down way up coming in, going south, for that to be a reasonable change, and it should be, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Belfair's 35 miles an hour. I make sure I maintain that, and I make sure I maintain the 35 here in Allyn. But at least Belfair has a wider road. There was only one instance of that new fence going in that blocked people's views, and I think they have worked on that. But we are so much closer. That's everything is so much closer to the road that the parking, and the parking's limited, you know, and it would hurt Bubba's to not have any kind of parking there. So, you know, what do? A speed limit drop would help. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out.
Great, thank you, Barry.
Thank you for everything.
Yes. Phil, I see your hand up. Phil, would you like to?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. So I wasn't able to hear all of what Jeff said. I think I got most of, you know, the gist of it and your last speaker, but yeah, so I mean, you know, those roundabouts on Highway 3 was kind of a surprise, I think, for everybody. I didn't hear any communication about them, and you know, for instance, perhaps, you know, I mean, in my opinion, a better roundabout would have been at, you know, Johns Prairie Road and Highway 3, instead of having one at Pickering, and or having one at North Bay Road and Highway 3. So, and as far as the tip cap committee goes, yeah, it was sad to lose Jeff. You know, sad to lose Jack Johnson. He wasn't reappointed, and we haven't had any We haven't had any meetings scheduled. So I'm not, honestly, I'm not sure what's going on with TIPCAT. I know there's a county commissioner that's really maybe not as engaged with it. So I'm not sure, but I should definitely, pursue that. And as you know, I mean, I'm on the committee and I look forward to our next meeting, but I wanted to pass that along that, we don't, I felt like we made some good progress, especially over the last few meetings, but, we never have, engagement, total engagement with DOT. And, projects are surprised on us from time to time, for sure. And, as Jeff mentioned, I think that, having a roundabout at, there at 3 and North Bay Road would also facilitate, what the last speaker said is you could take a right out of Drum and then you could go around the roundabout and then, and then you could come back west. So, hard to say when, once a bypass, when it finally gets built, what it might do to traffic, but those are the comments that I have.
Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, any other comments? Travis? Sure. Jeff? Travis? Oh, okay, go ahead.
I definitely have something to add to the safety concerns that coming out of this area here with Big Bubba's and everything. But the downside of it is when you get those sidewalks in there, it's gonna really clamp down on Big Bubba's ability to have people park and use their facility. Probably some talks with the owners to kind of figure out a plan to get people to come down here and just walk.
Yeah, true.
And if that's the case, I know the state doesn't like to put crosswalks in, but they got to start budgeting on some of that stuff for businesses to continue to operate. I mean, Bubba's is a very small piece of property. They cannot expand their parking, and that's not the state's fault, but at the same time, try to work with them. But yeah, it is dangerous. I drive out of here every day. Right. And even at night, there are cars parked there. And there shouldn't be, because they're closed over there at Bubba's, but they're still, there's a lot of blockage that goes on there. And you put those sidewalks in, no one's gonna be able to park there, so that blockage will go away. But where are all those people gonna park that have been going to Bubba's the whole time?
True.
And they've got to be able to go somewhere. And there's options, but they're going to have to get on their feet and walk a little. But yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Travis. Jeff?
Just a thing, don't we need to add to your agenda for the next work meeting? We're going to have an agreement, hopefully. And it's got to be signed before the next meeting.
Going to be signed before the 30th, yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, don't we need to have that in
On the
there?
21st?
21st?
Yeah, we could probably have a special meeting along with the hearing as well.
Yeah, that's what I was shooting for.
Yeah,
to
we'll
do
do
it
that.
Because otherwise.
Because,
Yeah,
there's the two items, the
yeah.
employees' policy and then the water
Yeah.
system. That'd be probably good for the next agenda on the 21st.
Yeah, I want to get things always publicly said before so they don't surprise people.
Right. Yeah, and that's been an important part of this, your concern, and we need to make sure that happens.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
so it's right out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Motion to
For
adjourn.
them public comment, and hear me.
Go ahead.
We have 2 retirements coming up this month, or excuse me, in the next couple of months. Sheriff Salisbury is going to be retiring, and I would like to see the Port of Allyn. I'd be more than happy to pay for it. Give him just a proclamation, just say thank you for your service. But there is somebody that I know Travis worked with quite a bit, and I did too, Larry Ellis. And I'd love to see Travis present.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Larry is one of the most tremendous police officers that I ever got to work with. So
Yes.
if we could do something for, Larry is also one of the guys that watched the port. When I was working, I'd sit down at the port, Larry would come up behind me. So if we could do something to just appreciate them from the Port of Allyn, I would appreciate it.
We can even do
That'd be
something
great.
here at the Port of Allen facility that represents North Mason, you know.
Sure.
And being the other side of the
Yes.
county, yeah.
Are they retiring the end of this year or the end of this month?
Larry called me and said he's gonna retire in a month and a half. And Casey's done, let's see, Ryan's gonna take over tomorrow, so Casey's done in December. So
Okay,
I would, Casey as a sheriff just needs a letter. Larry as a sheriff that does the work, I'd like us to try to come up with something positive for him. So
Okay.
that'd be
maybe
great.
Travis.
Yeah, if you
give
me a time and a place,
Travis,
I'll be there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe
And
on the 20,
I'll get in there, Leanne, I'll talk to you and see what we can do.
Okay.
so maybe on the 21st, we can designate something or time or set up a time. And especially with Officer Ellis, there's so many times that when I ran the Belfer Cafe, he was always my best friend.
He's helped us out several times.
Yeah.
He is a
Sunshine and I.
wonderful man.
Yeah,
You'll remember me.
that's great. Leanne, you had something you wanted to
Yeah, I
share?
just wanted everybody to know I'm really sorry about my cough and cold. It's not COVID, I've been tested. It's just your average cold, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
cool.
hopefully you'll get better quick.
Oh, yeah, I got
Okay.
it from Dawn. I couldn't blame him.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
I don't feel so good. No.
Oh, and I took one for the team before you got here, because I knew she was sick, and like, I just might as well get it over with and get ready, you know. So, all right,
It's like you might not want to.
yeah.
Okay,
No, I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
anything else? If not, meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you all, have a wonderful night.
Thank you.